Hi, I'm Miss Wilson, and I am the art teacher at Uplift Meridian. I'm going to walk you through a day in my classroom. First thing we do is greet at the door, and then we start to file in. At the start of my class, we do 5 minutes of a free draw, or sometimes I'll give a prompt or something such as only using circles. I would like you to do this. So as the scholars are entering the classroom, they will start doing this on their tables. Once every scholar is in, I set the timer for 5 minutes. Then we start going over the assignment for the day. So we start looking at the TEKS, which are the Texas skills. The skills that Texas says that we need to learn by the end of 5th grade. Art is special because it does not have a year's worth, but a 5-year period where it changes, but each of the skills is kind of fluid over the 5 years. And they will have an objective. The objective is, in the scholar's terms, what the TEKS mean. So in this case, I can see and make art using color and shapes. There's also the ELPS that we read. Internalize new basic and academic language by using it and reusing it in a meaningful way. So that just tells them what they will be doing in acquiring language. How we pull in literacy into the specials classroom. And then the IB tie-in, which is what IB learner profiles we will be addressing during the lesson. And if there's attitudes or thinking skills, things like that, that we will be addressing, I will have that on the board as well. So in this lesson, our learner profiles that we are going to be keeping in mind are being open-minded, and we'll talk about how being open-minded means that you are trying your hardest and not saying I can't do this, but how am I going to make this my art? Being knowledgeable, we're going to be talking about a definition or two. So we're going to be using that definition multiple times and using that word throughout the year, so it's something that you need to make knowledgeable. And of course, it being art, we'll be using the IB attitude of creativity. The second part of the lesson, I will tell them to sit down, if y'all were in front of me, I would tell you to turn your papers over from your free draw, and we will go into the introduction. This would be posted on the board. We are going to practice our color song, and then we are going to talk about the element of art of shape. So let's get to that. Okay, so we are going to review our color song. Make sure you are singing along, as well as dancing if you would like to dance along with it as well. Color song, come on, sing along. Sing it long, sing it loud, and sing it strong. With every line, say the color that would rhyme. You might not know, it gets harder as you go. I feel blue when I see blue. I feel serene when I see green. I stay in bed when I see red. I open the door when I see. This is the color song. Come on and sing along. Even if you sing it long, and sing it strong. At the end of every line, say the color that would rhyme. There's a few you might not know, it gets harder as you go. I feel delight when I see white. I feel mellow when
when I see
yellow,
I have to purple when I see
purple.
I open the door hinge
When I see,
this is the color song. Come on and sing along. Even if you sing it long, sing it loud and sing it strong. At the end
of every line, say the color that would rhyme.
there's a few
You might not know, it gets harder as you go.
I look down when I see
Brown,
I lose track when I see
black,
I turn away when I see
gray.
I open the door hinge when I see this is
It's the color song, come on and sing along.
even if you
Sing it long, sing it loud and sing it strong.
at the end of every line
Line, say the color that would rhyme.
there's a few
You might not know, it gets harder as you go.
It's hard to think when I see
Pink,
I feel old when I see
gold,
I think of Wilbur when I see
silver.
I open the door hinge when I see this
It's
is
the color song, come on and sing along.
even if you
Sing it loud and sing it strong.
at the end of every
Every line, say the color that would rhyme.
there's a few you might
You
not
might know, it gets harder as you go.
I'm a fan when I see
Tan,
I call a pilot when I see
violet,
it's no big deal when I see
teal,
I open the door hinge when I see I open the door hinge when I see I open the door hinge when I see
orange.
when I see orange when I see orange when I see orange when I see orange when I see orange
And of course, we all remember that door hinge and orange don't actually rhyme, but does make for a fun song. Okay, so now that we have reviewed our colors, we are going to move into learning about the element of shape. So we have what is shape, and let me just arrange this. There we go. What is shape? A Get Art Smart book. We have the cover, the spine, the back cover, the title. This one actually doesn't have an author on the front page, but sometimes we can find that on the title page by Tay Bendham. All right, what is shape? Ooh, this one even has a table of contents. Shapes everywhere. Everything around us has a shape. A shape is made when the two ends of a line meet. Some shapes have curved lines. Some shapes have straight lines. A wheel has a shape made from a curved line. So we have the curved line. One kind of shape is called geometric. Geometric shapes are simple shapes that can be drawn with straight lines and curves. A desk has a geometric shape. So your desk has a shape of a rectangle or a square. Actually, in our rooms, I believe in your room, you have a trapezoid. Yeah, that's right. Good job. Shapes have names. Geometric shapes have names. A circle is round. A triangle has how many sides? 3 sides. A rectangle has 4 sides. Sorry, 4. A square has 4 sides. And what makes a square extra special? It has sides that are the same length. See if we remember. Circle, triangle, rectangle, square. Miss Wilson missed a blurb. Look around you. Do you see objects that have geometric shapes? My sticker's kind of a rectangle. Okay. Finding shapes. Geometric shapes are all around us. Road signs have geometric shapes. Sometimes we see many geometric shapes in buildings. The Yellow House by Vincent van Gogh, 1888. Vincent van Gogh is one of Miss Wilson's favorite artists, and y'all are going to figure that out over the years. What different geometric shapes can you find in the buildings in this painting? Oh, I see a rectangle, triangle, square, semicircle. That means a half circle. Some great shapes out there, huh? Organic shapes. Organic shapes are shapes that can be found in nature. Organic shapes do not have names. Trees and plants have organic shapes. Animals and people have organic shapes too. So today we're going to be working with geometric shapes, and more specifically we are going to be working with one geometric shape. And we are going to pause this book for next time because it's got some more that we're going to work with. For this particular project, as we move into from our introduction into guided practice, where Miss Wilson is going to work with you to make art, we are going to work with the geometric shape. It is a circle. So if you have a pattern of a circle, maybe a lid to a jar, that would be awesome that you can use right now. If you don't, that's okay too. You can just use your eyeball and try and make it as good of a circle as possible. That's okay. Sometimes we don't always have things that we can use as patterns, and we can just do our best. So, first thing we are going to do is we are going to make circles on our paper. Now, before we get started, we are going to look at the expectations of what you want when you are finished. So, finishing expectations in order to get an S. So to get a good grade but not 100, we need 10 plus circles, neat craftsmanship, and remember that means that we're coloring in very neatly with our crayons. In this case, crayons. All circles are colored in, or all pieces of the circles. Now, if we want to make that S into an E, in order to get an E, you need to exceed the expectations above. So, some examples, and these are examples, so this does not mean that this is what you need to do specifically. You can come up with your own ways to do that. Solid, neat background, patterns in circles, and extra circles. So, we are going to do what it takes to get an S, or that's what I'm going to start you out on, and then I'm going to show you some finished examples that have ways that you could make it an E. So we're going to start by making our circles with black crayon. And I'm going to look back at that expectations. I needed at least 10. So here we go. 1, 2. I can make them different sizes. I can make them together. 3, 4. And actually part of the fun of this one is putting them together. 5, 6, 7, 8. That one was not a very good circle, so I'm sorry. 9, 10. So if you're wanting to just do our S, we need to color it in all the way and doing it super neat from our craftsmanship. So I'm going to take whatever color I want. I pulled out a green and I'm going to color inside my black line. I'm going to stop where I see another black line. Nice and neat. My green all the way to the edge. I'm not scribbling, I'm not going super slow. But I'm making sure that it looks nice and, oop, left a little white spot there. Nice and neat. Okay. So then I'm going to do a different color. Now Miss Wilson likes to play a game with this where whatever color I pull out of the crayon box is the color I use, even if I don't like the color. And then I can think, do I like this color? Do I love this color? If I love this color, then I'm going to give it a nice big space. And if I don't love this color, maybe it's just one that not particularly my favorite, I'm going to give it one of the smaller spaces. Remember, all the way to the black edge, the black crayon line. Okay. I'm just going to continue until I have all of my spaces colored. And I can use this in multiple spots if I would like. So I could use that over here. The only thing I don't like to do when I do this particular project is have my colors touching each other. I like it where I have my colors across the paper from each other, so I have like big gaps between them, so my blue violet is way over here from my other spot. But that's just the way I like to do it. I'm not going to give you a rule that you can't put them next to each other, but I do think that that makes for a more creative picture. But you're the artist. If you think that you need to do that next one pink as well, then that's what you're going to do. This is your art. Medium, kind of like orange, not my favorite. Just going to do one orange. I like my orange to be darker when I use orange. And this one, I really don't like this scarlet color. I think it's a little too red. So I'm just going to do a small one in that color. Ooh, I love blue. So I'm going to do a nice big one. Maybe I'll do a few in this one. Now, after a few minutes of the project and making sure that everybody is on track, I am going to hand over the creative reins to the scholars. That means that I am going to be walking around the room, helping scholars who might need a little extra help, and I'm going to show the finished expectations again. That way everybody knows exactly what they're being graded on and what is expected of them to get that grade. And that also shows us when you are allowed to move on to choice centers. Now for my returning scholars, this is something new. For my scholars who are new, woohoo, you got something cool. So I mentioned using patterns could be a way to elevate your art, to make it better, to make it more creative. In this case, what I did was picked a couple of my circles and I did some lines like this and gave it a little more pattern. Just did 2 or 3. And I could change up the way the line is going. Some horizontal, some vertical. This one's a little more on the diagonal. So, a finished example of that would be right here. This finished example, if I didn't have the patterns and it was just plain colors, that would be an S. If I have the patterns in it, that would be an E, even though I don't have a background. Or I could choose to do more circles than 10, which is what I did here. I did extra circles, and I also did the background. One solid color background, making this a little more than what Miss Wilson expected, which both of these you would get an E for. So, we are going from guided practice to independent practice. You will complete the guided practice, your circles, on your own as Miss Wilson walks around and helps any scholars that need help. Okay, so as scholars are getting finished at this time, what I like to do is I like to have them, as an extension, they will get to do choice centers. So choice centers are for scholars who have done or have exceeded expectations. So they have to have attempted to add the extra part of the art. So they would get to choose from 6 different free things. They will be learning about this in the first couple of weeks of school so that we have the routine down before it is able to do. But they would choose from puzzles, free draw, building, art library, sketching practice, and an element of art center, which in the case of shapes would be shape robots. And this would be something that we have previously talked about. And like I said, the scholars are continuing to work. Now, what I will do as they are getting done, I have a stamp that says exceeds expectations. It's in the mail, it's coming. Listening and learning. And following directions. So the scholars will get that stamp on their paper, and if they were listening and learning and I didn't have to redirect them too many times, they'll get a check for that. That's during the video, during the guided practice. If they followed the directions and met our finishing expectations, then they would get a check mark for that. At this point, 2 checks would mean an S. If they went for those exceeds expectations and they get 3 check marks, then their S will be changed to an E. Alright, so to finish out the class, we are going to practice our turn and talk. Remember, our turn and talk partners are our shoulder partners, and we are going to, when Miss Wilson gives the signal, we are going to turn to our shoulder partner and we are going to tell them we are going to give them one example of an element of art that we talked about today. So, once again, when Miss Wilson says go, you're going to turn to your neighbor, your turn and talk neighbor, and give one example. How many examples? One. One example of an element of art that we talked about today. I will be going around watching and listening for your examples. Go. Oh, I hear someone talking about practicing colors. I hear Sarah talking about shapes. That's an excellent example of an element of art. All right, good job. Back to me. All right, so we are going to share out some different answers. Please raise your hand if you would like to tell me what your partner said. Awesome. So, Miss Sarah told me that her partner told her that the element of art that we studied today was shape. That's awesome. All right, thank you so much for coming to my class today. I can't wait to meet the new scholars and can't wait to see my old babies who I have seen in the previous years. As for coming to Meridian, I absolutely love working at Uplift Meridian. This will be my 7th year coming up. It's the best school I've worked for, and I would highly recommend sending any scholar to Meridian. And if you have scholars that are 2nd grade through 5th grade and are able to get into the extracurricular stuff, that's awesome. Especially being a specials teacher, I would highly encourage you to do that. So, if you want to be an art club, I'm so excited to see you and can't wait to meet you.